Say the line, Bart. Hawk Tuah.
Yuck! I edited that, and even I cringed at it. Hi there, my name is Dr. Mr. Cow, and I specialize in treating 15 minutes of fame syndrome. What's 15 minutes of fame syndrome? It's that thing where someone does one thing that's kind of funny or entertaining, and then they try to turn that one thing into a career. And yes, it's true, Hawk Tuah lady was a patient of mine, and is a fine example of this phenomenon, and don't worry, doctor-patient confidentiality doesn't apply here because I had my license revoked for selling Kanye nitrous. So the Hawk Tuah lady did this.
Oh, you gotta give him that Hawk Tuah and spit on that thing, you get me?
Cool, right? Well, now she never has to work again. Wow, Dr. Mr. Cow, is it really that easy? Yes, it absolutely is. If the Costco guys can say boom or doom and make a living, you can too. The problem is, 15 minutes of fame syndrome is an incredibly rare disease, unlike alcoholism. But that doesn't stop people from trying to get it, like alcoholism. Hawk Tuah lady, Riff Raff, the damn Daniel guy, that kid that yodeled in a Walmart, the Costco guys, hell, even someone like Bert Kreischer technically falls into this group of incredibly lucky people with seemingly very little talent. People that blow up for one thing and try their damnedest to make a career out of it with vastly different levels of success. People suffering from 15 minutes of fame syndrome may become popular incredibly quickly, but they will forever be associated with the one thing they did to blow up, and it'll follow them everywhere. Remember that Hawk Tuah woman from earlier? Well, she's got herself a podcast now called Hawk Tuah. She can't escape her single claim to fame even if she tried, and what's even crazier is I don't know what this lady's name is. Seriously, I have no idea what her name is, and I'm gonna bet you don't either. But this is what happens, and this is what makes 15 minutes of fame syndrome so volatile and strange. The person who becomes famous almost disappears into the gimmick that got them famous. Whether that gimmick is a story like Bert Kreischer's The Machine story that made him famous, or the Costco guys becoming their boom or doom catchphrase, or the Hawk Tuah girl's whole personality being the response to a TikTok question, the person becomes the meme in these situations, which is a really fucked up thing to have to unironically write, but hey, this is a fucked up little world we're living in. But you know what makes this all the more strange? Is that The Simpsons had this whole phenomenon cracked about 30 years ago, and it's a good reminder of how people suffering from 15 minutes of fame syndrome usually wind up. And no, this isn't a The Simpsons predicted the future video, okay? The Simpsons is not a magic show that predicts the future. The Simpsons didn't predict the Hawk Tuah girl. This is a video about overnight sensations and making the most of your 15 minutes of fame, okay? It's not magic. There's not time travel. It's not a deep state or whatever dumb Simpsons conspiracy theorists think. They can't predict the future. They just understand the cyclical nature of the entertainment industry. So let's get into it. Season 5, episode 12 of The Simpsons, titled Bart Gets Famous, is about Bart getting famous. This one's Bart, the little yellow guy. Bart finds himself on the set of the Krusty the Clown show and gets a job as Krusty's assistant. Bart helps out for a while and is given a shot to act in a sketch with Krusty. Bart then proceeds to literally stumble his way into stardom by destroying the set and saying,
I didn't do it.
Bart becomes an overnight sensation as the I Didn't Do It boy. Sound familiar? And Krusty seizes this opportunity to milk the gimmick completely dry. After appearing on late night shows, releasing multiple albums, being in a literal carnival sideshow, and saying I didn't do it over and over again, Bart begins to get sick of it and wants to be more than just a passing fad. But it seems the world doesn't want Bart to branch out, and instead, Bart is forced to continue saying I didn't do it over and over and over again until finally, it's just not funny anymore. Bart then decides to try out a new catchphrase.
Sploopity sploosh.
At which point, his audience leaves him and he's kicked to the curb by Krusty. And that's basically the episode, and it perfectly encapsulates the experience of the overnight sensation. An unsuspecting person stumbles their way into fame, they take advantage of it for as long as possible, they then do anything they can to diversify, but they can't because they didn't become famous for being smart, and then they're forgotten about. This is the cycle for people suffering from 15 minutes of fame syndrome, except nowadays it seems to last for a whole hell of a lot longer than 15 minutes. But at the end of the day, they all arrive at the same fate, even if some take longer than others. And sure, some people can escape the gimmick that made them famous, but it's only a matter of time before that lack of talent catches up to them. Greatness and long-standing can't be accomplished overnight, but fame absolutely can be. And it's important to remember that being famous isn't the same as being good at something. It just means people recognize you from something. People suffering from 15 minutes of fame syndrome might get attention and riches, but after a while, they'll be remembered as hacks that took advantage of a situation rather than people who perfected their craft and capitalized on it to make a living. So sorry, Bart Simpson and anyone else with 15 minutes of fame syndrome. I'm happy for you and I'm happy you made some money, but at the end of the day, I think you are lazy frauds that should take some time off to come up with something fresh. But we all know why people suffering from 15 minutes of fame syndrome don't lean into new jokes or new content, because they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to garner an audience because their audience is only there by sheer luck and happenstance. Just as Bart Simpson stumbled into fame, so too did all these hacks. And I won't lie, I feel a little bad for them. Overnight sensations tend to be taken advantage of just as much as they take advantage of their own situation. Other frauds in the entertainment world come out of their fraud holes and start endlessly enabling the overnight sensations in order to piggyback off their success. It's a really gross system that is almost never as funny as people think it is in the moment. But you know what? At the end of the day, I can't be too mad. No one's forcing me to watch the clips and podcasts coming from these overnight sensations, and if people suffering from 15 minutes of fame syndrome want to exploit it for as much money as possible and use the money to buy a house, more power to them. In fact, that's kind of awesome. I don't have to find this unfunny slop funny to at least cheer for the underdogs in this situation. Sure, they're not as funny or skilled as other entertainers, but I guarantee you the money looks the same no matter how unfunny you are. So I applaud you, people suffering from 15 minutes of fame syndrome. Get your bag, but I will not feel bad when this all comes inevitably crashing down, because fuck you, learn a new joke, Bert Kreischer. Also, this is a perfect time for me to plug my new podcast, Couch Talk with Mr. Cow, where we're having real conversations about real things with real people. Our first guests are going to be the Costco guys and Hawk Tuah girl, and we're talking the economy. We're talking politics. We're talking science and cryptids. I think I saw a mummy in the woods. That's the first episode. I'm going to get everyone's input on it. We're going to try the chicken bake, guys. We're going to try the chocolate cookie. It's going to be great. Tune in. $15 a month on Patreon. Extended cut on Patreon.